The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here. Right now, in the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow, I thank you for joining today. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining once again. In the last episode that we talked about Saul, we talked about a series of events that led to the Israelite king being passed out before a witch. The Philistine army had gone up against the Israelites, and Saul had an ongoing fear of the Philistines. They seemed to really get him rattled. So here, as he is once again facing off with the Philistine army, he is desperate for some direction from the Lord. However, he had no relationship with the Lord. Okay, Lord, tell me what to do. What do I do? Hello, can you hear me? I need you to tell me what to do. What's going on? Nothing. The Lord did not respond. Yo, bring in the prophets. Let me hear from the. Let me hear. He's not talking to me. Bring me the prophets. The prophets went in. Hey, have any of you heard anything from the Lord? I need to know what to do. I need to know what to do next. The Philistines are coming for me. What do I do? Nothing. Nobody had any word from the Lord. Anybody had a dream? Anything? Nothing. Come on, somebody tell me what to do. No matter from which angle that Saul tried to find a word from the Lord did not respond to Saul. So Saul took an alternative route. And despite knowing that they were strictly forbidden, wicked, evil, Saul went to consult a medium in hopes of once again leaning on Samuel's relationship with God and to hopefully get answers. Samuel told Saul that his rebellion and disobedience had cost him the kingdom and would soon cost him his life. More specifically, the next day, it will cost him his life. So Saul was literally paralyzed with fear. He was shooketh for real, something serious. The medium and his advisors basically had to force feed him just to get him off the floor. Eventually, he mustered up enough strength to be able to return back to the camp. Now, imagine with me getting that kind of news, okay? Saul made it back to the camp, weak-kneed, sick to his stomach. The shadow of death is looming closely behind him. Beads of sweat chasing one another down his face, but the quiet of the night is chilling. Saul cannot shake the words of Samuel. Tomorrow, you and your sons will be here with me. That had to be a long night, but not quite long enough. The next day came far too quickly for Saul because he knew he could not escape his fate. The Philistines attacked Israel and the battlefield was hot. The fighting was fierce. Saul's heart was racing as the Philistines closed in on him. Left and right, all he could see was men falling. And then, one by one, his sons started to get hit. Benadab, out. Malchishua, out. Jonathan, yes, David's bestie, out. Everything starts to move in slow motion. Before Saul could process his reality, he felt a throbbing pain. A Philistine archer had pierced him through and through. Thoughts of being tortured flooded his mind, and Saul groaned to his armor bearer, "Take your sword, finish the job before they capture me and do worse." The armor bearer refused. "Sir, I could never." Saul couldn't stomach it. He took his own sword and fell on it. When his armor bearer, who had one job, carry the armor of the king, don't let him die. When he realized that Saul had died, he fell on his own sword too, right next to the king. The next day, the Philistines went out. It was customary for them to go and strip the casualties of war of their things. When they came to Saul and his sons, they stripped off his armor to put in the temple of their gods as a form of worship. They also chopped his head. They desecrated his body and the bodies of his sons, and they fastened their bodies to the wall of the temple of their idol gods. Humiliating. When the men of Jabesh Gilead heard that the Philistines fastened Saul and his sons' bodies to a wall, They sent warriors and they traveled in the cover of the night to retrieve their bodies so that they could give Saul a proper burial. I don't know if you remember, but shortly after Saul was anointed king, the people of Jabesh Gilead had a little run in with a king named Nahash. Now, Nahash was a king that was going around bullying people, basically. He was gouging out their right eyes. Might ring a bell now. But anyhow, when the people of Jabesh Gilead had this run in with King Nahash, they went and they sent for help. And it was King Saul who mobilized an army to defend them. I imagine that that's what they had in mind. That's what drove them. Saul's willingness to defend them, to have their backs, and to help them be victorious over King Nahash was a worthy enough cause for them to do exactly what they did. They retrieved Saul's body, they retrieved his son's bodies, and they gave them a proper burial. Meanwhile, an opportunist traveled from Mount Gilboa all the way to Ziklag. He tore his clothes, he put some dirt on his head to show that he was mourning, it was a thing. He fell on his knees right before David. He was appropriately dramatic. Mind you, David and his men just had a whole battle against the Amalekites to retrieve their things after the Amalekites attacked Ziklag, burned it down, took their wives, took their cattle, took their family, took all the things. David and his men had only been back from that battle for 2 days. This was the third day when this man just rolls up on. So David is like, "What's up? Where you been? What's going on? What's with the dramatics? You snotting, you crying, you got dust all over you. What's up?" The man said, "I escaped the battle from the Israelite camp." Okay, what happened? David's heart's racing. He wants more information. This man being too dramatic. He's like, "Just get to it." The man said, "Yo, it was rough out there. The whole army fled, but a lot of the men didn't survive, including King Saul and his son, Jonathan." Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up. Wait a minute. Run that back. What did you say? Saul and Jonathan. How do you know it was them? How did you know they were dead? What are you talking about? Like, I can just hear the shift in his tone. Say more. What do you mean Saul and Jonathan are dead? How do you know that they're dead? How can you be so sure? Well, I'm sure. Let me tell you what happened. So I was out there and I just so happened to see Saul leaning on his spear. And when I saw it, he called to me. He asked me who I am. So I told him, "I am an Amalekite." He asked me to finish the job and I didn't want him to suffer. So I did what the king asked me to do and I finished the job. Look, here's his armband. Here's his crown. I imagine when David saw this man holding Saul's crown, that time stopped for him. His heart and his mind just couldn't keep up with the information that was scattered at his feet. In one sentence, he learned that his best friend had died. The Lord's anointed, Saul, was dead. The man that he had been fleeing from for years could no longer pose as a threat. The time had come. It had finally come for David to take the throne. And there at his feet was a slimy Amalekite handing him Saul's crown like a Boy Scout badge. David tried to stay calm, cool, and collected. And he said, "Yo, where'd you say you from again?" "Me? Well, I live in your land, but I'm an Amalekite." "Yeah, I thought that's what you said." "Why weren't you afraid to kill the Lord's anointed?" "Well, mm, I, what do you, he asked in mid-sentence. David cut him off. He signaled for one of his men, "Yo, come handle this." David and his men disposed of him. We'll put it that way. In the wake of this news, David and his men mourned and fasted all day for the death of Saul and Jonathan. David's heart was broken and he wrote a funeral song honoring the life of King Saul, honoring the covenant relationship with his dearest friend and brother, Jonathan. There are a lot of things that just took place. And now David is in a position where he has some decisions that he needs to make because the one factor that was causing there to be a delay and the manifestation of what God had promised is no longer a factor anymore. David didn't know. Every day he woke up and he took it one day at a time. He wasn't aware of what was going on with Saul. He wasn't aware of the conversation that Saul had with Samuel. He didn't know that the last day of his waiting was the last day of his waiting. Literally everything shifted for him in one moment. And the same can happen for you and for me. There are things that the Lord may have promised us years ago, decades ago, we have not yet seen come to pass. And we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but in one conversation, in one sentence, we could get the news that the thing that had been a setback is no longer a factor. I look forward to discussing what David does next with this information, what the next moves are going to be for him now that Saul is no longer a threat. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you for sticking it out with me, for listening. I look forward to sharing more in our next episode if the Lord blesses me to record another one. But until then, bye for now.